Hello, I'm Adam Kozorth, the preacher for the Second Street Church of Christ in Belmont, Mississippi. And here's your pearl of truth for today. In 1 Timothy chapter 2, beginning in verse number 1, the Apostle Paul wrote, "Therefore I exhort first of all that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and all who are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and reverence." I want to pull two things out of these two verses for just a moment. First of all, Paul mentions four different kinds of prayers that we should be offering. He says, first of all, that supplications are when we ask God for the things that we need. They are our petitions for ourselves. Then he says, prayers. Prayers are the prayers of a public nature. They are ones that are maybe said with a group. They're not the private prayers, but the idea here is a more formal or more public setting for them. Intercessions is the third category that he talks about. These are prayers that we say on behalf of somebody else, or going to God on behalf of someone. Maybe it's an individual who is sick. Maybe it's someone who is struggling, or something of that nature where they need our prayers. And then the fourth category is prayers of thanksgiving. Giving thanks to God for who He is, for what He has done, for all the many blessings that we have in our life. Now, certainly many of these prayers can be dealt with in the same setting. You might use a prayer that has all four of these various things in them. But you know, there's also a time and a place for each one of these prayers. And to just sit down and say a prayer thanking God, to just say a prayer on the behalf of somebody else, to just have a prayer that deals with the things that I need in my life. But Paul says something else in this passage as well. He doesn't just say utilize these four different types of prayers, but he says these prayers need to be made for all men, for kings and all who are in authority. You know, there is not supposed to be anybody who is outside the realm of our prayers, who we will not pray for, who we are not concerned about, and who we don't want to do what is right. As a matter of fact, Paul specifically says that we are to be those who pray for kings and all who are in authority. Why? So that we can lead quiet and peaceable lives in godliness and reverence. There should not be anybody that we seek evil to come upon, or that we want to, as it were, condemn to hell simply because we don't like them, or we don't share the same views as them, or we believe them to be this, that, or the other. Our prayers should be for all men. And he's going to elaborate on that in the next couple of verses, because God wants all men to be saved, and so should we. It should be a part of our prayers that all men come to the knowledge of the truth, but that also that we continue to be allowed to worship our God and to serve Him in godliness and reverence. Do your prayers match with what Paul says here? Are we only ever praying for the things that we want, or are we praying for the things that are important as well? Are we praying for those around us? Are we praying for our leaders? Are we praying for our country? Our prayers are important. They should cover many different things, and they should be dealt with and said at many different times. And we need to take the lessons that Paul gives in these verses to heart. Pray that this message today, this pearl of truth, will be one that blesses you and benefits you in your life.